I'm Elsie Souza of Bookstore One, and I'm very proud to have my good friend Elliot with me today. But I wanted to tell the listeners and the viewers that Citizens of London is a fine book on World War II and the Americans who helped and stood by the British during their darkest hour. And it was actually our finest hour. And as many people know, I love jewelry, so this is how I came to know Elliot in a very strange way.
This is what she calls jewelry.
This is his jewelry, and I said to him, "Oh, that is just magnificent." And what it is,
wings.
tell me.
These are my wings. When I graduated from flying school in March 1944, and my brother, who was about 16, he knows that there's a tradition that when you get a pair of wings, a family member pins it on. So he came out to Chicago, where I was stationed, and he came and pinned my wings on.
Oh, I love it. So how old were you?
I was 21.
You were 21.
Yeah.
So you were drafted then, I assume.
No, I enlisted.
Really?
Matter of fact, I was a senior at City College,
Okay.
where I graduated at 19.
Okay.
And when the Pearl Harbor came along, our whole fraternity went down to the Air Force headquarters. It was called the Air Corps, and we all volunteered.
Now describe to me the flying part. Were you afraid, or were you excited, or?
Well, I was very excited because I had always looked to, after World War I, we saw all the movies about Baron Richthofen and Eddie Rickenbacker, so I became enamored of the idea of flying, never thinking at all that I would ever do it. So when the war came along, the only thing I could think of was going into the Air Corps. So I went down to the Air Corps headquarters in New York. I was living in New York, and I said, "When are you going to call me?" Now, as opposed to what happened in Vietnam when people were going to Canada and to Timbuktu.
Right.
And I would go down to the Air Corps office and pester them and say, why don't you call me? Then I figured out that maybe they took my file and put it in the back every time I came there, so I figured maybe I better not go anymore. But they did call me, and I went, and I was very happy to go. And we did our training all over the East Coast and the South. And finally...
So you made it over to Great Britain, where you were stationed, I assume.
Yeah, well, it started out by getting the training all over
the States.
The States, all over the States. Now, the best part about my memory of that was that the co-pilot that I had was a WASP, a female flyer.
Gosh.
But here's a fascinating thing about the WASPs and their contribution to the war. There were about 35 of them who were killed during the war, but they never got burial allowances or anything. When we decided that we were going to make a new airplane, which is called the B-29, up until that time, the planes that we flew, the B-24, were the largest. But they developed the B-29 because they wanted to deliver a bomb to Hiroshima. So the B-29 was being developed, but what happened is they were having problems with it because the engines would start on fire. So they couldn't get army men, airmen, to fly them. They went all over, they couldn't get anybody. You know what they did? They went to the WASPs. So
I have a question. Was it cold in the plane?
When we were flying, we flew at altitude of 26 to 28,000 feet.
Okay.
Now, we weren't pressurized.
Okay,
We're a propeller plane, an old plane.
So describe this to me as someone who doesn't know.
The windows were open.
Okay.
Because the men who are our shooters, gunners, had an open thing. So the temperature there was 60 or 70 degrees below zero. It was cold. Now we had to wear like 5 layers of clothing. One of them was sort of a felt liner, which was electrified.
Okay.
So we had electrified boots and underwear and gloves. And sometimes all of it worked, sometimes it didn't, but it was cold. And
So
yes.
did you wear this?
No, we wore other kind of clothes.
Okay.
Sometimes we wore this, but most of the time we were wearing 5 layers, plus a parachute on our back.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you get to England, And how many missions did you do across
35.
35 missions?
35 missions. And, you know, the overall statistics show that from the beginning and the end of the war, roughly 50% of all the planes were shot down. So you had like a 50-50 chance. But when you're 21 years old, you're invincible, you're invulnerable, and I had been married about 4 months. So all I could think of is my wife would be a very beautiful young widow. So she gave me the incentive to keep going. As a matter of fact, there was a time when we were flying, we always flew in formation, like 200, 300, 500 airplanes.
Okay.
And we were carrying 8,000 pounds of bombs, heading towards the target. And on my second mission, we had trouble. One of the engines went out, and we couldn't keep up with the rest, so we had to leave the group. And what you do is you immediately open up your bomb bay doors and drop the bombs, because you can't sustain that weight. So what happened is, here we are up at 26,000 feet, and we tell the bombardier, who had the control over that, to open up the bomb bay doors with a button and drop the bombs. So the bomb bay door opened, they came up the bottom like this, and there was a big rack in the center with the bombs on both sides. And what happened is the doors wouldn't stay open, and you can't drop the bombs when the doors are closed. So he tried it again, it didn't work, so I got out of my seat, and it's very narrow quarters, and you're wearing all this stuff and a parachute on your back, and I went down back towards where the bombs were, and there's an 8-inch platform that you're on, and on that is where the bombs are stored. So I was standing there with nothing between me and the ground but an 8-inch platform, and there's a hydraulic handle which I used to open up the bomb bay doors. So they opened, and I started to walk away, and they started to close again because there was something mechanically wrong with it. So I had to stand there and keep the doors open until I could contact the bombardier and tell him to drop it. That happened, and it worked out okay. So, you know, these are the things that happen, and
You know, Britain and all of us, you know, we share this wonderful life because of people like you.
well, you know, the wonderful thing about the war, and I say that with a
Right.
little irony in it, is that everybody was united. There was hardly a person in the States, or for that matter in England or France, who wasn't in some way involved. There were something like 11 million people who were in the military over a period of time. There was rationing. So everybody felt the effect of the difficulties of war.
And thank you for sharing this with all of us at Bookstore
Well,
One.
I'm only happy to do it because I think I always loved history, and when I was young, I wanted to hear all about what happened before us. And I was born 5 years after World War I, and it became a matter of severe interest for me. So I read about it and learn about it, and I was intrigued. So the same thing, it continues now, and I think you pass on the history. And I think it's always something that we should be interested in doing.
Thank you, Elliot.
Well,
Love
thank you, Elsie. You're a delight for doing this, and I appreciate it.